Alright, today I'm going to show you how to change your brakes and rotors on a Nissan Frontier. I'm only going to be doing the front ones, but the rears are pretty much the same if you have disc brakes. And if you're doing any style of brakes, it's going to be about the same method. So if you're watching this video, it's going to work for pretty much any car or truck that you do. And this is, again, a 2009 Nissan Frontier. Okay, first thing you're going to want to do, before you jack the truck up, you're going to want to loosen your lug nuts. As soon as you get this tire up off the ground, it's going to spin, so you won't be able to get the torque needed to get the lug nuts off. So loosen them first, just a little bit, and then jack it up, and then you take the lug nuts off and take the tire off. Another thing to note, once you get the lug nuts off, the wheel may be stuck just from rust and grime. So if that ends up happening, I usually give it a good turn around and backwards kick on the tire, and that usually pops it off. Alright, when you're using your jack, make sure you are using your safety jacks and you have your tires chalked. Right now I have a piece of wood under there and I have my brakes set as well. But most importantly, use your safety jacks. Your jack will not support the truck forever. So alright, so now that we got the tire off, we need to get the caliper off. This is the brake caliper, this is the bracket, and this is the rotor, and I'm replacing this and the brakes that are underneath the caliper. To get the caliper off, you need to loosen these. There's one on top and there's one below right there. I've already loosened them, so let me take them off real quick. Short little bolts come off. So with the caliper, it's got the brake line attached to it. So I'll tuck it up on here. That way you're not putting all the weight. This thing's pretty heavy. So after you get that off, you just kind of wiggle it off. Kind of hard to do with one hand. There, see, comes off. That's the caliper. We're gonna have to push those rounds back. I'll show you in a little bit. But now the brakes are exposed. Okay, so at this point, if you're just changing the brakes, that's as far as you have to go. We took the caliper off. The brakes are exposed. You can see the two pads. Basically, you just grab them, and they're in these little brackets, just kind of secured. Come off. This one also has a pin that helps push them back out after you release the brakes. So there's one on the front side. There's also one on the back side. Don't forget that one. All right. Now you can just snap these little brackets off. They come with the new brakes. I'll show you that in a little bit. But there's one on top, one on bottom. To get to the rotor, to get it off, right now it's kind of loose, but the bracket is holding it. It won't let it come out. So we have to get 2 more bolts, which I have loosened already, and these ones take a lot of torquing to get to, so be careful with your hands. It's easy to smash your hands with these, but there's one on top, and again there's one down below, down here. These are 3/4 inch bolt. The old rotors just come off pretty easy. Just slide them right off, and you're pretty much ready to put the new off. You definitely at this point just want to check all your seals and your CV axles and all that good stuff. Make sure they're not leaking. There's all the rubber garments are still good. Checking your shocks. It's just at this point it's the most open and you can see everything very well. So good time to inspect for other things. Okay, here's the new rotor I'm gonna install. I went ahead and sprayed it with brake cleaner to get any of the store stuff that they had on it off. Just make sure it's clean. I'm sure after I start using this, it's going to start wearing this down, and then the rest of it's just going to have a protective coat to keep it from rusting. But as you see, it just slid right on there, and it's going to be a little loose until you get all the brakes and stuff on there. So here's the bracket. It's kind of dirty, so I am going to spray it with some brake cleaner hit it with a wire brush, kind of clean up some of that dirt, and then I'll reinstall it. Okay guys, now that we got that in, we want to put the bracket in. And just goes right back in like that. Make sure everything's lining up. And screw that side in and get the other side. Just like that. And depending on what rig you have, you want to look in your manual to see what torque you want to wrench it at. If you don't have a torque wrench, just make sure these are nice and tight, because they're pretty high. You install the new brackets for the pads, and they kind of just snap down in there like that, and then make sure they sit in the grooves on both sides, just like that. And there's also one on top that you install. Okay, here's the new brake pads I'm installing. Nice and clean. This one is going in the back. It's got the little screamer. This lets you know when your brakes get too low to change them. Your brakes will start squelching. Before I put them on, I put a little bit of grease on both ends. That way it slides nicely through the brackets. And here we go. Just like that. It is on there. Now I gotta do this side. Now I'm gonna install the front brake. Same procedure as the back. Just make sure the rounded part goes with the rotor. And as you can see, that will kind of hold it tight. And it goes against the top one as well. Just like that. And as you can see, the grease is for those brackets. So brake pads is you install these springs that help pull the brakes away from the rotor when you're not using the brakes. Alright guys, I'm going to show you how to push in these round parts here. Right now it's not going to fit over the new brake pads because they're a little bit thicker than what the old ones were, so you got to push these back in. How I did it is I had a piece of wood, set it against there, and then I used my clamp and I just screwed it back in, and you'll see them kind of go back in. Then I move to the other side. Put it in there, squeeze it back in. Just like that. Now you can see. Alright, now you want to get it back on. Kind of squeeze the brakes in, push it in. Got my bolt ready. Wiggle it till you get it. Get that one finger tight. The one below. Your brake's all done. Now you just gotta get your wheel back on. Go ahead and roll your tire back on. Alright, now the truck's back on the ground, time to tighten the lugs. Want to do an alternating pattern? Alright, most important step is the final one. You're going to want to turn your truck on and pump your brake pedal until you get your pressure back in your brakes. The reason why there's not a whole lot of pressure is because you push those seals back into the calipers, and basically all you're doing is pumping them back, and the calipers are going to tighten against the rotor, and then you should be good to go. Do a test drive, make sure everything works right, and it's that simple.